everyone. I'm Brad. This is Lisa, Kevin, Alyssa, and Jay. And we're here to talk to you about Lowe's home improvement and recommendations. First, Lisa's going to talk to you about the agenda.
Thank you, Brad. So on our agenda today, the first thing we're going to talk about is the current status. The second thing we're going to talk about are the key issues facing Lowe's today. And the third thing will be our recommendation. The first recommendation is expanding contractor services. The second recommendation is urban market expansion, specifically changing layout. And the third recommendation is international expansion. So for Lowe's current status, as you know, they have 1,745 stores currently in the United States, Mexico, and Canada. They also own 1/3 of Master Home Improvement in Australia. This allows them to be ranked the second home improvement store in the world. And as of yesterday, their closing stock price was $35.17. So in this graph, we compared Lowe's and Home Depot's gross profit margin. As you see, over the last 5 years, the gross profit margin of Lowe's was higher than Home Depot's. However, in the last few years, Lowe's has been decreasing while Home Depot has been increasing. That is currently an issue. The other two key issues confronting Lowe's is one is that Home Depot is consistently outperforming Lowe's. They have a larger contractor market segment and further international expansion. And secondly, their shareholders are discontent with Lowe's performance. They're attempting to push out the CEO over the next 3 years. So this leads into Kevin.
All right, so the first thing we're going to talk about today is contractor services. So there's a couple reasons we're looking into expanding the contractor services that Lowe's offers. The first is that contractor sales and contractors in general have been growing since 1983. This chart shows that the number of general contractors, both temporary and full-time, has been increasing since 1983. Also, the percentage of homes built for single families is primarily dominated by contractors, with only a small portion of it being built by people building their own homes. So there's two primary categories of projects that fall into the category of contractor projects. The first is do-it-for-me projects. These are projects that would normally be do-it-yourself. However, for whatever reason, the person seeking the project either is unable to do it themselves, doesn't want to do it themselves, or values their time in such a way that they feel that their time is too valuable to do it themselves and they want a contractor to do it for them. The other category is projects that will never become generally accepted as do-it-yourself projects, things like building a home, major renovations, roofing, etc. The problem right now is that Home Depot offers much more comprehensive contractor services than Lowe's. They offer much more better in-store services to sell to contractors as well as online services. So to talk more about these contractor services, I'm going to turn it over now to Brad.
All right, so one area we want to focus on is the uncaptured value of green products. As you know, customers want to save money, and contractors want what is best for the customer, since that's where they get their business from. This is an area we should focus on. As you can see from the chart, from 2005 to 2011, the market growth has been substantial. And we think that Lowe's should take advantage of this, since in 2010 alone, they were able to save over $213 million on energy bills, while $13 million on water bills for their consumers. Next, we're going to talk about the contractor services and knowing the contractor needs. So maybe this might be having a separate area just for contractors, or having some kind of club membership card where they can have discounts. Also having a vested interest in their success, because their success equals success for Lowe's. Since they have more projects, they're going to have to buy more products from Lowe's. Next is help contractors get new projects. They can have some kind of set-up desk where consumers can go and ask for referrals for contractors, which would help them increase business. And lastly, training assistant programs for smaller contractors. Usually they have the skills, but they need to be fine-tuned a little bit. And you could do this with programs online or in person. And this could create some kind of loyalty partnership between the contractors and Lowe's. I'm going to pass it on to Melissa to talk about urban expansion.
Okay, thanks, Brad. So now we're going to look at our second recommendation, which is expanding into urban markets. Now, we know that Lowe's and Home Depot both have stores in urban cities currently, but we're talking about taking these stores into urban downtown centers. Looking at the chart, you can see the top 10 cities with urban growth over the past 10 years. Examples are Atlanta, Dallas, Houston, Austin, etc. So we're saying that we think Lowe's should look into these cities to expand. Well, why? There's quite a few growth opportunities. These urban cities are expanding. There's room for increased numbers of do-it-yourself projects. As people are moving into new houses, new apartments, etc., they'll have projects to update or redo some of their homes. Also, contracting will expand. As they're going to these urban cities, more houses will need to be built, more contractors will be going to the stores. Another reason is that there's less competition. Home Depot has few stores in urban areas currently, so we think that if Lowe's goes into this, they could capture some of the market share in the urban cities themselves. Also, convenience. It's convenient for customers. Instead of having to travel, say, 15 to 20 minutes to find a Lowe's store, they can go right into the downtown area and go into a Lowe's. In order to do this, they're obviously going to have to change their store layout. Currently, Lowe's generally has a big box format. Their largest stores are around 116,000 square feet, where their middle stores are around 94,000 square feet. So our suggestion is that they go for a 50,000 square foot store. We also recommend building multiple levels. Instead of expanding out, expand up. This way they will have to purchase less space for rent, etc. But to do this, they're going to have a selective product mix. They're not going to be able to have an inventory with as much lumber, as much bigger appliances. For example, they stated that if they had grills, they wouldn't have the highest end grills in their store, but you could purchase this online and pick up at the store. So how much would this cost? Looking at a cost, if you look at the 50,000 square foot store, it would cost $4.5 million to build the store, $1.3 million to stock the store, and sales would be about $7.5 million. Now, Lowe's is going to be and has been closing underperforming stores, so I think that they can take this revenue they've used for closing some of their big box stores and use it to open the smaller stores, which will cost less for them to build. So now I'm going to pass it on to Jay to talk about international expansion.
Thank you, Melissa. I'm here today to discuss our recommendation for Lowe's to continue their expansion internationally. So, with the accelerated growth of globalization in today's economy, it's becoming much more convenient for big firms like Lowe's to really expand their horizons into foreign markets. So we believe that Lowe's should continue to pursue their international expansion into Canada and Mexico. We believe that any company that aspires to be an industry leader in the 21st century must think in terms of being a global competitor and really step outside the comfort zone of their domestic markets. If we take a look at this chart here, we see it's no coincidence that Lowe's has decided to move into Canada and Mexico. The Americas encompass a whopping 46.7% of the global home improvement retail market. So that being said, we're going to go into three different opportunities that we think Lowe's is really going to be able to capitalize on if they choose to pursue international expansion. So if we take a look at this chart here, we see that Home Depot has a tremendous advantage over Lowe's in the international markets. We see that Home Depot has 180 stores in Canada in comparison to Lowe's 31, as well as 92 stores in Mexico, whereas Lowe's only has 2. This is largely attributed to the fact that Lowe's began their expansion in 2007, whereas Home Depot began their expansion dating all the way back into 1994. So Home Depot has over a decade of experience in international markets. We think that by expanding internationally, Lowe's will be able to compete with Home Depot on an international level and establish a brand name comparable to Home Depot in these areas. Although they're currently behind Home Depot in international markets, we really think being a second mover has a lot of advantages when moving into foreign markets. For one, they can really avoid some of the pitfalls that we see in Home Depot experience going into foreign markets, as well as really being able to see which markets are really receptive to home improvement retail and choosing those markets and focusing on them. That being said, the second opportunity that Lowe's will be able to capitalize on is they'll be able to open their doors to an entirely new customer base. There is a large potential for increases in revenues, profits, and long-term growth by expanding into these markets. This becomes an especially attractive option when a company's home markets become mature or saturated, which is the case for the home improvement retail industry. The third opportunity that Lowe's is really going to be able to capitalize on is they're going to be able to spread their business risk across a wider market base. By moving internationally, Lowe's is going to be able to create a buffer for a slumping U.S. economy in the home improvement retail industry. We've seen that growth in this industry has been very slow over the last 5 years. So by moving internationally, Lowe's is going to be able to spread their risk across numerous markets as opposed to depending solely on their domestic sales. We see here from this chart, I know it's a bit small, it's hard to see, but the revenues, this is the breakdown of Lowe's revenues, and we see that in 2011, Lowe's generated $140 million from their international markets, and they're forecasted to generate $394 million by 2019 if they continue this expansion. That being said, I'm going to pass it along to Melissa to talk about the acquisition of Rona.
Okay, thank you, Jay. So our immediate recommendation for Lowe's in regards to international expansion is to resume negotiations with Rona in Canada. Now, you proposed 2 bids to Rona over the summer, however, they're both not accepted. But we think Lowe's should resume negotiations. Why is that? Well, Rona owns a mixture of different types of stores. They have big box stores, specialty stores, franchise stores. We think that if Lowe's could acquire this company in Canada, they'd be able to learn from the different types of stores to open, essentially this relates back to urban market expansion, that they would be able to learn how to properly manage the smaller store size. Also, Rona is currently the #1 retailer in Canada, so if Lowe's does acquire Rona, they would become the #1 retailer in Canada over Home Depot. And last but not least, the Rona CEO resigned from his position last month due to poor performance, so we believe that negotiations could be resumed now that he is out of his position. So what are the potential results? It would add $5 billion in revenues to Lowe's. It would have a significant increase in both revenue and earnings before interest tax, and it is projected to have a positive net present value. So with that comes to our conclusion. We think that Lowe's needs to take steps to become a level competitor to Home Depot. We think they can do this both in the domestic market and the international market. The way we believe they can do this is by acquiring Rona in Canada, moving into urban markets, as well as expanding contractor services. And with that, we start end of our presentation. We'll take any questions.
Time for questions and discussions.
Talk a little bit about the green piece. Can you kind of tell the story around that a little bit more? Because you touched upon it, but I'm not quite certain what you want to do with it.
Well, Lowe's has always tried to be a green company. As part of their mission statements to be friendly to the environment and be green in their stores and sell green products and help the customer be green. As the demand for green products has been growing, Lowe's has been selling those too, but also with the growth in demand for green products, people are going to want these products installed, and they're going to need for contractors. So by helping contractors, some of these products to contractors, they're increasing the sales, they're taking advantage of that green growth that they weren't seizing before by only selling to the green do-it-yourselfers.
I don't see that. I'm wondering if the margins on green products are much less, because if that's true, you would think these people are really what offerings would want to Lowe's now. You know, because it sounds like it's just been a buzzword for a while, but I don't think it feels unfulfilled. So I wonder if there are any barriers there that we're not looking at as to why they have to exploit it more, if they're really so focused on green.
I think Lowe's had a hard time getting into it. For this past year, they became a work project longevity, which focuses on housing and roofing, being solar panels. So I think as they start, like the joint venture becomes more into this year, it just happened. We'll see it more in the store when you walk in. They're going to have like an iQuote, so you can go over and find out how much it would cost to make your house powered by solar and how much other green objects would cost to power your house.
As far as international expansion goes, Canada's never really mentioned in the top 3 or 4, obviously. If you want to get into South America, China, and so on, why Rona? Just because the opportunity's there, or it fits better, or something they can swallow?
I believe, especially right now, the opportunity is there, especially since the CEO has resigned.
So that's it.
What are the benefits of buying Rona and then putting the Lowe's name on it? Why wouldn't you keep a brand name that is already profitable, has a good brand image, probably sits at home with the Canadian people, and then change the names of their stores? Because I don't see the benefit. I see it as maybe a risk of changing the name and then people being, I don't want to go there anymore or something.
I think that's a great question. I think to a point it will be a risk, but I think Lowe's Lowe's main point is that they're looking to get to the Canadian market with Rona to be the #1 leader over Home Depot. So I believe they want their name on the company to really for that international expansion. That may be a risk with Canadian customers, but right now the shareholders are unhappy and looking for Lowe's to come in. So I don't know how big of a risk it would actually be.